Mr. Onyeneto, thank you very much for today. I want to welcome you formally to our show.
Thank you.
Very much. Onyeneto is an Igbo living in Holland, in Amsterdam. And we thought today to bring him into the show to see some of the evidence he has to present about the Igbo. He's well thought in the Igbo history and some of the Nigerian history in general. So thank you very much for your time today. Welcome. Shalom, I would say, because that's our new greetings in the land, from the land of Israel. Okay, Onyeneto, please, could you tell our viewers today who are the Igbos?
Well, the Igbos right now are a group, it's a tribe or nation living in the eastern part of Nigeria, formerly eastern protectorate of Nigeria. In the northern part, we are bordered by the Idoma.
Okay.
Then you move towards the southern part, we have the Ibibios. Then you move further toward the west, you have the Jaws. So the Igbos are more of a landlocked. We are bordered around by this group of people. We have the Idomas, you have the Ibibios, then you have the Jaws. Then at the center of these people are the Igbo speaking.
Okay, okay. And okay, so that brings us, where did the Igbos come from originally? What do you think?
Well, that takes us to origin of the Igbos.
Right.
Historically, where the Igbos come from,
right,
have been formerly based on oral tradition.
Okay.
And like in every other society,
right,
you talked about where you come from based on what you were told.
Okay.
They generally claim to come descendant of Eri.
Okay. They claim, or are they?
They say they are descendants of Eri.
Okay.
And that's have been where their history has based. And for centuries, this equation of where the Igbos come from have been a little bit disputed.
Okay.
Our neighbors have ridiculed us. I have to be very honored that we don't have origin. I have to be very frank. They have ridiculed us that we don't have origin.
They have no origin.
Yeah. But the story we know is that they said that the children of Eri are the descendants of Eri. But with passage of time, things started becoming clearer. Both why people thought that Igbos have no origin,
right,
why they say it became clearer. But one thing we do know that the area where they say they come from,
right,
like in Agulere area,
yes,
what we do know is that consistently from history,
right,
they have insisted that they are children of Eri. And these people that said they are children of Eri, surrounded, all of them are one way or the other, bear this Eri in their surface name.
Okay.
You have Umuleri,
yes,
Aguleri,
yes,
Agokunri, all of them, and they claim to come from there. There is nothing much we know about Igbo until of recent.
So in your definition, to find the Igbo people or where the Igbos come from, you have to go back to this source, Eri source.
Who is then Eri?
Then who is Eri? Please,
That's the question.
enlighten us.
Now, we couldn't actually have knowledge of who Eri is. Like the Eze of Agokunri.
Yes.
They said that Eri descended from heaven. And that's now in Igbo society, they normally answer Igwe. They can't answer Igwe.
Right.
So because they descended from heaven, the Eri fall from heaven, that's their father.
Right.
They answer Igwe.
Okay.
But then with time, the history becoming clearer.
Okay.
That the oral tradition, on basis of which the origin of Igbos have not been substantiated. I will tell you why our neighbor thought that we don't have no history.
Because you came from the heavens.
No, we have history, better history than them.
Right.
Yeah, I think today it's clear that Igbo history is more authenticated than any other group around us.
Right.
Let me make it very clear. Why our neighbor thought that we have no history is that because of Igbo peculiarity. Igbos are not used to subscribing to metaphysical speculations.
Okay.
And we have it in Igbo word that Igbo Fulani Okwe.
Yes.
So in the present day philosophy, you say that Igbos are pragmatists.
Okay.
They only deal on practical things, what they can verify.
Right.
Anything they cannot substantially verify, they dismiss it as trick and fraud.
Okay.
So, like every other society, their history is based on myth and legend. Igbo rejected it. Okay. So our neighbors say we don't have history. But with passage of time, right, as the world come together, the who Eri is becoming clearer.
Okay.
The question, how do we come to associate Igbos with Eri? We know that Eri is their descendant. Then how do they come to know who this Eri is? That's the most important thing in the history of Igbos.
Who Eri is.
Who is Eri?
Okay, thank you. Hold that thought. We're going to come back after break just to re-emphasize the point. Thank you for the break. Please, in the first session of the show, you mentioned that the Igbo history seems to have its origin to this character called Eri. And for you to find out who the Igbos are, we have to go back to this individual called Eri. So who is Eri?
Now, like in every other society, to know their history, you have to listen very carefully to oral history. Who is Eri? Our knowledge of Eri fundamentally was based on oral history. And you have to go back to one central language that is common in Igbo society. That's Erimwe.
Okay.
Erimwe means literally from the beginning.
Okay.
Or in the actual sense, since the time of Eri.
Okay. So
that Eri was the origin has never been disputed by historians and the elders.
Okay.
It has been generally accepted. And that the Eri is their begin that they originated from this man Eri seems to be generally accepted. And that both are past leaders, whenever they want to do something, they look up to that sign.
Okay.
Like we all know today that one of the most important things in Igbo culture is Ofo. And yes, it's now accepted that Ofo Igbo is Agukun, Lord Diji Ofo.
Okay.
And whenever you want to do something, you have to go to them to collect it. Even our ex-warlord, Ojuku, he has to go and collect the Ofo from Ezem before declaring the war.
So to make a decision concerning all the Igbos in total, you have to go to this area.
To get that Ofo as authority.
As an authority.
Ofo is a church stick,
right,
that is a collective spirit of the society, a sense of authority.
Right.
So whenever the Igbos want to do something, they have to bring it out.
Okay. So if an Igbo went and declared something without this offer, it is not legitimate.
It's on his own. It's not with the other Igbo, it's spirit of Igbo. But whenever you are both in your town or in your community, we bring it out. It's an authority.
Okay.
And it symbolizes the spirit of the whole community. And this very thing is in Agukun.
I think I recall something similar. My father is a chief, and I recall him having something similar called Ofo, and this is something that when he seems to have struck it on the ground and declared something, it is not disputed.
It's not irrevocable.
It's irrevocable.
And it is by declaring that now the community has spoken.
Okay, so once he raises that up and strike it on the ground and speaks a thing, it is a declaration, and this goes into effect. Nobody can dispute this.
Yes.
And that particular offer is in Nri.
It is in Agokunri.
Agokunri.
Now, so that we originated, or the Igbos originated from this character called orally, is generally known. And today in Igbo community, over 100 and something towns and communities traces their origin directly or indirectly from Eri.
Okay.
But who the Eri is, how did he come there, having a mystery. I have to be very honest, and until of recent.
Okay.
But one thing is common. that the first time it was documented associating the Igbos, the origin, outside the present-day geographical entity, was in 1789.
1789.
By ex-Igbo slave called Olada Aquino.
Okay.
He was the first person. And what is interesting is that in trying to trace who Eri is, they came to the conclusion to the characteristics, cultural characteristics of Igbos. They started finding similarities between Igbo life, Igbo culture, life in all its ramification with the Jews. But then it was like that for almost 100 to 200 years. It's just ended there because the first publication was that 1789.
This is an ex-slave, Oluda Equiano,
who said that he came from Esuka.
Okay.
Maybe it's a adulterated word on Suka or Isieke, we don't know.
Okay.
But we know he's an Igbo man,
right,
who, through hard work, paid for his freedom, paid for his education, was the first person to put down the history of the Igbos on a book.
I think for our viewers who does not know who Oluda Equiano is, he's one of the slave abolitionists from England. He was an ex-slave who then fought to have slave abolished in the known world there. And he wrote a bestseller of his time, which is called The Narrative of Oluda Equiano. A very good book. I recommend all our viewers to get this book and read it. Quite interesting. So,
but then, after the publication, almost after 100 years again, a missionary who spent almost 20-something years in the Igbo community, G.T. Basdan, come to conclusion again that the name Igbo might have been derived from one of their ancestors. That's only where he stopped. So in tracing who Eri is, the Igbos continue anyway to research and carry out these things until of recent. Because in that publication you just mentioned, the narrative of the ex-slave, he was emphatic that he was descended from the Jews. He was the first person to put it in writing based on cultural similarities between the Jews and Igbos, which he narrated there. But then, I think the story ended there until of recent. But in subsequent time, one thing was clear, that we look up to that area, it is said that this area settled as our source of origin. But then, writers like Elizabeth Isishele, Osio Nyaso, many of them, based on that Olade Equiano, with knowledge of Bible, was then coming clearer in explaining these similarities. How come that in Africa, the Igbos are the only people that have such close similarities in everything with the Jews? And that there is no other place in sub-Saharan Africa you will see Igbo. Wherever you see them, one way or the other, they might have migrated outward to that area.
Yeah.
So it was until recently that the written document about the origin of Igbo started emerging.
Okay. No, I think I recall this picking up some interest recently, but what I found quite credible is that the Igbos have had this tradition before some of these writings came into play. For example, they said that they came from Eri. This is before the Bible made its way into Africa. And this is quite interesting for our viewers. If you go to Genesis 46, verse 16, you're going to see all the names of the sons of Gad, and Eri is one of these sons. So when they saw those names, they said, well, it could be the same individual. What then was found quite interesting was when they investigated the home of Eri, they found interesting artifact, which is called the oink stone, which Jacob gave to all of his sons. Quite interesting. Please.
So the written evidence of origin of Igbos was then based on the Bible.
Okay.
Like you have just said, because the problem that I've had for long was the geographical migration.
Right.
But then it became clear that when you go to the Bible, that God, who is now known, is the father of Ari, migrated from the Canaanite area to Egypt when Joseph was the prime minister of Egypt. Okay. And they settled in Goshen. And then it is now very clear, documented, that God is the seventh son of Jacob. And the Ari is the fifth son of God. And that this Ari migrated with his entourage out of Goshen across to what he calls Sudan today. That is what we know to be Africa today. Right? And that this took place, supposed to have taken place around the time of the fifth Pharaoh. Okay. Now, when he left, that was all they know about him. And that the history now have it that the entourage that left Jerry moved southwards across Sudan and continued towards inside Africa, and they eventually landed through Igala. They passed through Igala. And then from Igala, they migrated to what you call today Agule, that the first land in what you call Omambala, that's the conference where the Niger and the river Anambra met. Right. And that was the first place the entourage landed. Then from that place, they moved to what you call Obigad today. Now, after this story about God and how it ended there, we still could not convincingly, I have to tell you, because I am one of the people who was skeptical about the story. I first read about Elizabeth Isishe's book, who narrated the similarities of the Igbos with the Jews and concluded that the Jews are descendants of that the lost tribe of Israel.
That the Igbos are the lost tribe
of Israel. I didn't believe it.
Elizabeth Isishe, she is British.
I know that Elizabeth Isishe, I don't know whether it's a British or, but I know it's a white woman.
She's a Westerner to settle in among the tribes. One of the things that I've come to realize in our research is some of the Westerners who actually dwell with the tribes have a lot more credible things to say about them than those just passing through or making generalization about the people. Isishe have written a lot of books, bestsellers, that are used in a lot of universities today to discuss African history. And she had a lot to say about the Igbos based on their cultural heritage, as you said. Yeah.
But the story, even after the biblical evidence of Ari being the son of God, established in the Bible, right. And that these people, period before they coming in contact with the Bible, have been insisting that they are descendants of Ari, right. Exactly the same spelling.
Right.
That's over 500 years before they came in contact with the Bible, they have been insisting and have spelled it correctly that they are from Ari, that they are the children of Ari.
And this is the same individual that is in the book of Genesis.
You found out that the spelling is exactly the same.
Okay.
But then, being Igbo character, as I was telling you, I will never say that we don't have origin, which is the nation of the Igbos is summarized in the way that Igbo Fulani Okwe. They never accept anything like myth and legend, which was the origin of every society. Right. They rejected their own. So some people mistakenly or misinformed, misguided, thought that it was not have origin. But this is going to be settled with archaeological evidence. Yes. So archaeological evidence then was found out when a delegate from Israel. But prior to this time now, the Israelis, I must tell you honestly, have been very sort of curious about Igbos. They have been very curious. I heard it that even during the Civil War, that Israel was very sympathetic and everything, was trying to do everything possible unconsciously to help. And then there have been a series of delegates, both in 1993, from Israel, trying to know whether there is this relationship, but I think it was settled in 1997.
Okay, what happened then?
In 1997, a delegate from Israel again, under the King Solomon's Sephardic mission, arrived in Aglair. And then there has been a stone in that area. They have had the stone for long, but they don't know what the stone is. It has been there. But when this group of people, when the Israelis came there, they saw the stone, because they found out that the writing in the inscription in the stone is ancient Hebrew.
Pale Hebrew.